Hey folks, welcome to the show. And today we have with us Edtech entrepreneur. How about that, Sharath?
It's very good. I'm looking forward. Ashutosh is here. You want to give a brief background?
Yeah, sure. We have with us Ashutosh Kumar from Testbook.com, an online testing platform. And I'm sure over the journey they have diversified into a lot of other areas as well. I do know that they have live coaching. They're also kind of going more on the content end to a certain extent. Welcome, Ashutosh. Welcome to the show. How's it going?
Yeah, thanks, Nikhil. Thanks, Shivan, for having me on the show. Things are going good. COVID has been a very new experience for, I guess, the whole entire industry. It's good now.
Excellent. No, thanks a lot for finding the time, Ashutosh. And, you must be also tracking the news pretty closely these days. Supreme Court has just given a view on JE on net. So
Yeah.
I guess that's good news.
Yeah.
And in terms of, from a regulatory standpoint, obviously, everybody has kind of more or less accepted that now it's business as usual. COVID is something which is going to stay in the background, but life doesn't stop. Kids have to take exams. Jobs and careers are not hostage to only to public health issues. No, how has your time been over the last 6 months? And it will also be good if you could just share a bit about Testbook, the work that you guys do. Then we can go into a bit more detail on your business and the sector. That sounds good.
Sure. So I'll give a little brief about Testbook. So we primarily are a one-stop learning platform where we sort of provide a 360-degree learning experience, so starting from teaching a small concepts to a full exam level syllabus to make students practice on thousands of questions and then also benchmark them through mock tests, to live tests, so that they can know before the real exam that where actually they stand in front of the competition.
Right.
So our focus is primarily on the graduate students who are primarily preparing to get into some into public sector companies like say banking, SSCs, railways, defense, police. They are like say a lakh or 4-5 lakh jobs every year. But you'd be seeing there'll be more than 9 crore students appearing every year.
Right.
The competition is very, very high, when more tougher than getting into IIT. So selection chance in government job is even less than 0.25%. So that's our focus area. So we guys started back in 2014 when Testbook went live. But I have been into education since 2007. So when I came to IIT Bombay, I had a keen interest of teaching. I don't know how it came, but I guess that was inspired by my home tutor back in Bihar to come and teach me at home. So from 2007 itself, I started getting into teaching. And I guess during my college days, around third year, 2009, 2010, sort of it started coming to the mind that it's very difficult to get a job, to do a job, not to get a job. So we got campus placement, but we didn't join it. So I guess around the college time itself, the mind was started figuring out what we can do better, how we can sort of solve this problem, because we know that the education is a big problem in India.
Right.
And the primary reason is because we have a very vast country, very spread out, very diversified. And again, it's very difficult to find a good pool of quality teachers.
Yeah.
So I guess that's where the idea incepted, and then it's been more than 12, 13 years in this sector.
Yeah.
And about the last 6 months, it was very exciting, very new. No one was prepared. We were not prepared. But by God's grace, luckily, being a tech platform, a lot of processes here at Testbook are platform-driven. And we also already had a work-from-home policy where a lot of things were already structured in terms of reporting, in terms of task assignment, in terms of task review. So when it happened, when the COVID was announced, when the lockdown was announced, I guess it took us around 7-10 days to sort of quickly adapt to the new normal.
Right.
So I guess that was not a big of a problem. But again, from our video lecture delivery side, because we had a studio set up in the office, and all the teachers, all the live lecture streaming or all the video streaming happens through that studio. So we had to sort of figure out a tech to facilitate the teachers to start taking lectures from their home. So that was the only challenge that came across when lockdown started, but I guess we were able to figure out the solution in a deeper so. So that was really good, and I guess the team, even including us, have accepted the new normal. It was very difficult to sort of imagine that how such a big team, so we are around 300 people team in Mumbai.
Yeah.
So how such a big team would be working like say for 5 months, continuously work from home. But I guess now people have become more productive actually. So they're able to sort of save a lot of time in traveling and then having a chit chat in the office.
Yeah. How big is the team right now, Ashutosh?
Yeah. So we are around 300 people team in house on the payroll, and then along with that We have around 300 more people working as a freelancer with us.
Okay, no, that's
They sort of work. They used to work remotely.
that's fairly big, and like people say that because of COVID-19, all the sort of some of the tech innovation has really accelerated, and you are seeing what would have taken around 3-4 years is now happening in less than a year. In the edtech space, are you seeing similar trends? Like as it is, you're a tech play, but are you seeing like rapid, move towards even improving the tech or increasing the tech element in what is, education, which is historically traditionally not been so tech heavy? Are you seeing that acceleration in that space as well?
There has been definitely an uptick in the Edtech. It has been to an acceleration mode right now. And primarily because it happened because even if you see as on date, we don't have more than 3% people learning online. And we have seen technology disrupting a lot of other spaces in terms of communication, in terms of logistics, in terms of e-commerce. But education was something which was put on the back seat. But if you see, somehow education was something which needed a tech solution because, as I mentioned earlier, India is a very vast country and it's very difficult to supply a good quality teachers to a remote village in say, Andhra Pradesh or Bihar. And that has been the only way to sort of solve is to build a tech solutions and figure out how about one good teacher can sort of, instead of teaching 100 students, can teach lakhs of students.
But
So,
I mean, like in your business specifically, like I like you obviously focus on testing, then you also now focus on coaching to a certain extent. But I mean, I think a big role probably was also played by the fact that a lot of testing from the government side or from the testing agency side has also moved online. So students now pretty much expect an online experience when it comes to their own testing protocol. So a tech platform to help them.
Oh, that's a good point.
Kind of fits well, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely true. So I guess this trend has started back in 2013-14 itself. And I guess that was, I didn't mention, but that was one of the prime reasons to pick the government sector because we had seen that trend that the government has started shifting exams from offline to online. And we knew that if the exams are happening online, no matter what, people would like to sort of attempt few mock tests before the exam, sort of get used to with a real exam experience. So that trend was definitely there. But if you talk about sort of starting or doing a coaching, so still people had that thing in the mind that we have to go to offline coaching institute. Just quite popular in the local area. They know that many people sort of get selected for that coaching, and the teacher would be in front of them. So this was something a mental block that people and the parents had earlier. But now people are able to, since they don't have an option in the lockdown.
But like in your case, it was more of a backward integrated approach, right? Like you saw government testing, it's going online, so you kind of picked that as a very specific category. And then, like obviously, as you scaled up, now you kind of stepped back and then went into content, into coaching element as well.
Yeah, true. So that was the whole idea. So if you can break the learning into 4 components. So one component is the learning piece where actually you let the people learn from the concept, from the basics. Second piece is the practice component where actually you let people apply the concept. Maybe like say you'll be taking 2 minutes, 3 minutes to solve a question. Though in the exam you're required to solve a question 36 seconds.
Right.
The third part is the assessment where actually you sort of benchmark yourself whether you are able to convert knowledge into marks or not. So the fourth piece is the recommendation. The idea was to build one pieces at a time and then sort of sequentially build the full 360-degree learning experience across the platform. But on the testing layer, we had a very good response, and we have one of the best products in the market. We have more than 5 lakh active paid subscribers at our subscription layer who are sort of accessing and practicing for more than 150 exams on the platform.
Right.
But the shift towards a learning platform or say learning modules where people come with a very bare knowledge and then they sort of start learning from the concept right from the zero. That has been a very big new trend in our category also. But that got accelerated in the last few months and primarily because of the lockdown. Because now people are coming, they are using, and if you see very apple to apple comparison, so there are a lot of ways where actually the Edtech has been a better solution than the traditional learning. Because the biggest problem in the traditional learning was the lack of data for the decision making. Right. So if a student comes to me and he tells me their problem, I wouldn't be able to sort of guide them much because my guidance will be based on the 5 minutes of interaction, right? But if you sort of have a data of a user, how it is learning, how it's performing, and if you use those data to sort of recommend them, then there is a hell lot of a big difference in the decision making. So I guess now people are able to see how they are able to progress, how they are able to improve, where they are lacking, what's their weakness, what's their strength. That was never possible in the traditional learning.
But I mean,
so I guess,
No, sorry. I was just thinking. There's also strange parallel with the offline world, right? Like when it comes to like offline education, also, comparative tests where there is a definite endpoint. Like parents basically want their kids to clear certain exams so that they become employable, they get a job. That took precedence before the broader learning end of the spectrum. And I guess in the online world also, the journey has been similar, right? Effectively, you're looking at more, examination, competitive exam oriented products. And now you're looking at more broader curriculums, broader education, holistic, ended products.
Correct. Absolutely. Yes, and it took a lot of work on the product side. So if I'll give you one more data point. So in our category, in India, more than 70% of the people, students preparing for government jobs come from a smaller town. Right? And even if you go to, so I come from Madhubani, it's a very tier 5 town, you can say, in Bihar.
Right.
And still you will find a patchy internet over there, right? And then when you're learning something and when your video starts sort of buffering in the middle of a lecture, the whole learning experience goes down. Or imagine when you are taking a 2-hour mock test and the internet goes in between, the whole experience goes down. So I guess it took a lot of effort to figure out the right technology which can sort of empower and facilitate this sort of very seamless experience to even a smaller town student. So I guess a lot of technology advancement has happened. We have worked really well on those parts. So we have one very small and simple feature of downloading the video lectures and see whenever you want, like a Netflix.
Yeah.
So you can download the full episode and can see whenever you want and as many number of times as you want. So these were the very small features which were sort of you can say the need of a mass pool of people coming from the rural background of India.
And I also found it interesting that in your product, like there's live coaching and doubt clearing sessions and features like that. How do you think about, because at one end we talk about tech as generally in the VC terminology, people look for scale and automation and things like that. So this has got a real human element, availability kind of a model, right? Like real time. So is that like, how do you think about that as a challenge, and how do you source those professionals to be there at that time to address that problem, that problem statement at that time? That's a little bit of a challenge, or is that something that separates you and that's how you view it?
It's a challenge, but it's a need. Mm-hmm. Okay, so no matter what you'll have to do. So just imagine when a student comes to us, the core goal and the objective is to figure out where they would be able to improve their performance. Mm-hmm. So like say today I'm not able to clear an exam. I go to Testbook with an expectation that Testbook will do something, some magic, and down the line 6 months or a year I'll be able to clear an exam, right?
Yeah.
The outcome becomes very important and critical. I guess whenever we took an admission in college or a school or a coaching, anywhere, the whole expectation is that if I am getting 50 marks, I should be able to get like 60 marks tomorrow and then like 70 marks after tomorrow. Okay, so the same hypothesis, the one drawback that the digital learning platform is having is the lack of a personal touch. So imagine even in a proper traditional classroom at a batch of 100 people, you won't find 100% attendance every day, right? And then teacher needs to sort of motivate the students continuously, guide them continuously. Those personal touch is something which keeps pushing the people to sort of reach towards their goal. And that's what we did at Testbook. So our live coaching is a 2-teacher model, where there is a main teacher who sort of delivers the lecture in a live format, where the students are able to interact and ask doubts during the lecture directly from the main instructor. And then we have a coach who are sort of act like a second teacher, and they are already exam qualified candidates, like someone who has already qualified SBI PO exam or like clerk exam or SSC exam. And this sort of and these coaches are assigned on a one-to-one basis to each student, where based on the data of their engagement as well as performance, they sort of guide them what to do next, where they should focus, where they are going wrong, what they should do right. And all this together sort of adds a big value and shifts the needle of a student in terms of performance. And that is very important, because again, as I said, I have been a teacher for almost 7 years. Yeah. And I know the real expectation of a user as well as their parents.
Yeah.
So no matter what, you'll have to ensure that your system should be able to increase and improve their marks.
No, that's
and it's not that a big challenge, because we have a big pool of people. So like say when we are able to find the right coach or candidate who have already qualified the exam from our student base itself.
And they are attracted to your platform, like these instructors or experts, they are attracted to your platform, strictly on commercial basis, or do they, like, why are they coming onto your platform? They just want to be associated with it, they get paid for it. Like, how does that model work typically?
it's commercially, right? So
Okay.
so we sort of pay them, and every task has a different sort of a pay structure.
Okay,
So what
got
they
it.
do, they sort of get paid. Yeah.
Yeah.
But are these like,
And it's good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
I mean, no, but this does Testbook act like a marketplace for them, or they are exclusively part of your teacher team?
Core
It's, a,
team.
it's an exclusive part of the teacher team.
Right.
It's not like a marketplace model.
So
we
that
sort
you
of
also have,
50 people.
so from a quality control standpoint, you are kind of involved, right, end to end.
Yeah. So we have a handpicked people, and then they go through a very rigorous training before actually they are allowed to sort of get in touch or get in touch with the students. There's a very rigorous process and training system around that.
Right. I mean, if you like just take a step back for a moment and we look at EdTech as a whole piece, I mean, there are many components in it, right? I mean, you have like testing platforms like you guys who are now also into coaching and content. You have end-to-end content platforms. You have marketplace models. You have YouTube who has like DIY type of an approach. You kind of, there are so many of these pieces which are flying around, right? And you have companies like Byju's who probably do now everything under the sun, who are raising a lot of capital. If I were to like ask you, like in terms of value chain, do you see like some sort of a consolidation going on in the next 2 to 3 years in EdTech in a big way, or are we still early days, and there are in every vertical of that value chain there is still a requirement of at scale players? How do you kind of see that from where you sit?
So I guess this is the right time for Edtech to get consolidated so that the players will be able to grow bigger and solve the problem at a larger scale. And then there has been a big shift in the awareness at a parents level and a teachers level, and as well as the students level. So I guess going ahead in next 2-3 years, there has to be a good big consolidation happening in Edtech for sure. Because again, if you have like say hundreds of players sort of working in the same market, then no one would be able to sort of reach to a scale or a size where they would be able to sort of get in touch of a big capital and sort of solve the problem at a bigger scale.
But like
So
consolidation also requires like
in
in every category, for consolidation to work, for every category needs to have some sort of 1 or 2 category leaders, right? First emerge.
Yeah.
Like we are there yet? You think we are already there where you actually have dominant players in every category? Or are there some buckets where, like we keep on reading, this is a very informal part of the market? I mean, are there buckets which are still informal, which haven't been formalized yet? Or you think everywhere someone or the other has already started working?
So I guess if you see the K-12 sector, the school categories, I guess there has been a category leader. If you talk about Byju's or if you talk about Vedantu, okay, if you talk about Topper, so they're sort of doing really good in terms of product, in terms of value that they're adding. If you talk about our category, where sort of we are preparing to a graduate market, it's still a little early, not to stage where the K-12 players have reached. It might take couple of more years to sort of get to a level where you can say that now there are like 2-3 players emerging out of the crowd with a very big solution, good solutions, and with a good value proposition.
And in terms of like, for instance, in your particular vertical, I mean, like if you take testing as a whole, like testing is something which can be commoditized, right, to a certain extent. Or do you disagree with that?
So it is already commoditized, right? So if you see, that was the first paid product we have started with, right? And then we were able to sort of sell. And as I said, we have like on a monthly basis, we have around 55,000-60,000 transactions happening on our test layer, on a subscription test layer. And then we have been able to sort of cross-sell to the same student based on their weakness and strength our higher ticket size products, that is the life coaching we say. And then at the end, you have to sort of let the people feel that you are adding a lot of value with that product. So, and when we built the product, it was whole around the data analytics, because that was something which was going to sort of bring a difference. Because again, there is a traditional coaching. You sort of used to, the testing is a very old sort of system where you go to a coaching, they'll give you a paper, they'll give you OMR sheet, but again, the data was lacking, the recommendation was lacking. So again, people have added a lot of value there. People cannot sort of commoditize this.
So like, because that was exactly my next question, because, I mean, you think that in terms of materials, in terms of testing, I mean, like we've all kind of gone through, like you have been through competitive exams yourself, we all have been, like there's a lot of material out there, right? So I actually wanted to ask, what do you do which differentiates from a technology perspective? And I guess recommendations is the answer, right?
Just not the recommendation. So again, a test paper is not a group of 100 questions. It's a group of 100 selected questions.
Right.
When you say selected, that's where the difference comes, right? So if I select, if a third person selects, the test paper is going to have a different flavor, right? So and this is a big value addition. So a lot of contents are available on the internet in a pieces. But if you want to sort of crack the SBI POA exam, and if you find a place where all the 50 mock tests prepared, or all even the learning content prepared around that particular exam, it adds a lot of value, because it's a very high competitive exam, right? And people don't have much time to sort of roam around, spend 5 hours at one platform, 2 hours at a certain platform,
Right.
and learn something.
Right.
And the second piece is the data part. So say, whenever we create a test paper, say one question has been exposed to more than 10,000, 20,000 people, right? And based on their attempt of statistics, we have been able to sort of categorize a particular question that it should be in what category, whether it is easy, difficult, tricky, and for what exam.
Right.
Whenever we sort of reuse the question in a different test paper, say those questions are being used based on the data history of that particular question. And that's why you are able to sort of bring the experience level to next level.
Mm-hmm. And what is the level of personalization that can be accomplished in this selection? I mean, obviously, you're identifying selection or curation as a key component of strategy. So what level of personalization is possible in such a play? Because I know that's a key element to your strategy, right?
So I guess we can go to another level of personalization. So just imagine one thing, when the e-commerce took a boom, people just had the transactional data, right?
Yeah.
They never had the behavioral or the learning data.
Yeah.
And the kind of now the Edtech platforms are the platform where actually they're having a history of data of a user being on their platform.
Mm-hmm.
And when just not a one user, it's a multi-user coming from different academic backgrounds, different geographies. And now when you sort of process those data and use the outcome of those data to sort of map up people, map a student with the right content, it can sort of bring a big difference. And we have been working on a good technology around that, where if you're coming from Kanpur, I know that people coming from Kanpur, whether their English is strong, or whether math is strong, or whether reasoning is strong. Because I know that people coming from Kanpur, how he has performed on our platform.
Yeah.
And whether he was able to clear a particular exam or not.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess even there are multiple factors can be sort of collected together, based on which the recommendation can be made, and that is going to be more very, very powerful.
Yeah.
And how do you see monetization play out here? Obviously there are transactional, for instance, you mentioned that a huge number of transactions happens on your own platform. You see monetization more as a kind of a, like a purchase oriented monetization, where there is a plan, there is a package, you buy it and then you're out? Or do you see more subscription oriented plays, especially in your area? Or you see the fact that you actually get the benefit of collecting such granular data on behavior, on performance? Do you see some sort of an institutional sales oriented monetization there? I mean, my question is kind of two-part. One, in terms of how you look at it, and what are the trends that you are seeing around you?
So on a monetization side, in our category, when we started, we didn't have the subscription-based model. So we were selling the individual test packs for at that point of time, 2017, 18, we had around 40, 50 exams on the platform.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But in our category, one single student ends up taking at least 8 to 10 exams in a year.
Right.
Because it's a job, right? So when we go and look for a private job, you don't just go and get a one job, right? So you sort of try with 10 other places and sort of try your luck. So same thing happens in our category as well. So if you talk about the test preparation, people are more comfortable with the subscription-based model, and Testbook being the sort of a first player to get with the subscription model, we have been able to sort of scale it really well. So as I said, we have around 55,000-60,000 transactions happening at a subscription there on a monthly basis. But if you talk about a full live coaching, where a 3-4 month program goes on a particular exam, there people are very, very focused on an exam-driven approach, where you say, okay, I'm going to train you on a SBI POA exam, or I'm going to train you on an RBI exam for continuously for 4 months. So there's a little different behavior when people look for a live coaching versus mock test preparation or test preparation. And I guess the market is very deep. As I said, 9 crore to 90 million students are there. And so there's a very deep, still very deep to go. And I guess we'll be able to scale the business on a B2C model.
Yeah.
But again, there are a few players who are sort of trying to figure out an institution-based model where they're building a platform and try to sort of reach out to the institutions and selling the platform experience.
I mean, when you were talking about automation, one thing I was kind of thinking about is that automation is from two ends, right? There is a demand side automation at the user end, and there's also supply side automation, right? And I think obviously demand side automation, you guys know very well. You've been doing that for quite some time. But like, when you look at supply side automation, I'm thinking of, companies like, I don't know, like I was reading recently, there's a company called Doubtnut, right? On which you apparently put a picture of an equation. It gives you kind of a response through a AI engine. But I mean, in those solutions, often, accuracy, quality control, user experience becomes a challenge. So do you, like, if I were to ask you for the next like 4 to 5 years, do you see only demand side automation is something which is going to like just go deeper and deeper and deeper in terms of, making the product as bespoke and personalized for your end user? Or you also see, like content actually getting automated, content curation, content creation, responses of your engine from the supply and getting automated more and more? Like, do you think technology has reached there yet?
Yeah. The supply side will also get some part of the automation, but again, education is very, very different, and the quality comes at the prime top level, right? And when you have 10 people without getting checked, getting into the system, you cannot ensure that all 10 people are good, and whatever they are teaching is right, and whatever content they are building is correct, right? And then it's like, say, when you teach people on the wrong content, you are sort of spoiling their career. So I guess it will take some shape of the automation, but it has to be proper control and under vigilant. Otherwise, you will lose on the quality. And in education, we strongly believe that outcome, the quality is the prime, and then tech is something which is an experience and a facilitator, right? Where we have been able to sort of deliver or take the good quality content package to a people sitting in a remote area. So still it needs to be very, very controlled. So as I said, we also have a freelancer model where we have 300 people working remotely, right? So, but we have built the platforms for them to work internally as well. So those sort of automations would be required. So like say, whenever people are asked to create a question, they create the question and automatically that gets assigned to another freelancer whose task is to review the question. And then again, when he reviews that, it automatically gets assigned to another freelancer who have to do the second cross-check review. So, but again, we don't need a human interaction coming into the picture and sort of figure out the question, isko ab jana chahiye. So I guess those sort of automation will definitely come, but we need to sort of have a very strong cap on the quality side.
What is, how do you see, the next leg of growth, like in terms of strategy? Do you think you want to cover as many competitive exams and, just cover the entire universe of competitive exams within India, obviously? But is that the way, or do you think we should go downstream into high school and CBSE and things like that, or vernacular diversity? What is, what do you think is the next big pool for in terms of grabbing the market?
So for us, it's going to be two main key sort of way where we have to sort of grow. The another is definitely the diversity in the exam. So currently we do around 150 exams, but government does more than 400, 500 exams in a year. I'm talking about state government exams as well. So the way central government has their own processes, own vacancies, the same way each and every state has their own setup of sort of recruitment processes for different profiles, being a teacher or being a police or being like say in the secretarial offices. So that is something where we're going to have the second focus. And the second, the next focus, and the second, the another focus is going to be on diversifying across the multilingual capability. Because again, if you are talking about try to cover an exam happening in a Telangana, right? So their regional exams will happen in a regional language. And the people coming from a village area or remote area of a Telangana won't be much comfortable in learning in Hindi or English. Because that's their mother tongue, right? So people are staying in Hyderabad might be comfortable, but people are staying in like in Nizamabad might not be comfortable. So I guess these are the two areas where, and as you mentioned, whether we sort of think to go into a K-12 assessment and all, I don't think that would be a focus in the recent time, because again, we have a lot more way to go inside more deeper into our category itself. So like say in next 1.5 to 2 years, our focus is to sort of scale our number of exams from 150 to almost 400 exams, 300 exams. And if we are able to achieve that, that will be a good milestone. But definitely a lot of focus will be on the multilingual thing.
I mean, that's a super, fascinating a journey has been. And in any case, I mean, it's just hearing about the mechanics of things from a product standpoint. It's very, very interesting. I mean, I'll kind of now, just do a bit of segue into like everybody has competitors, everybody has peers, companies, right? You guys like to look at, or you guys admire, or you guys don't like. What's your take on your competitors? Who are the companies that you closely look at? And second is, I mean, from a fundraising standpoint, obviously you guys have had a fair amount of success on that point. But how was your experience? Because Edtech, obviously, right now, if I talk to you in like August 2020, Edtech sounds like a very conventional mainstream sector to which a VC likes to take exposure. But probably that was not the case when you guys started, right? So how has the VC journey been for you guys?
Yeah. So on a competitive landscape side, again, there are multi players trying to build their solutions with their approaches, and we don't know who is right, who is wrong. And I guess the time is going to tell who is right, who is wrong. But the major criteria is going to be defined from the selections or the successful students that coming from a particular system. So we have been able to produce 37,000 selection in last 3 years. And then it's a massive number, because if you see our selection ratio is 7% compared to like say the market standard, which is even less than 1%. And that in somehow talks about the kind of product, the kind of experiences, the kind of all the ecosystem that you have built, right? Because without that, you won't be able to sort of produce such a big selection. And again, it's the earlier stage, as we know that Edtech had just started booming, right? Just started getting on a hockey stick curve. Earlier, it was not that. And that again comes to the second question. The early days, it was not that easy to get the VC's interest in terms of fundraise, because a lot of uncertainties were there. The big question was that there has not been even a single successful Edtech company in the past. And then a lot of decision making from a VC side are based on the past track data, like what has happened and how it has happened in other countries. But I guess today things have changed a lot. Now, and then there was a very fundamental question I still remember it used to come 2014, 15, 16. Do you guys really feel that Edtech would be able to replace coaching? And we used to say that yes, and people were not believing that at that point of time. And then because the only parallel that people had was like say the video lecture, right, where the interaction was missing, the engagement was missing. But now people have been, the players, the companies have been able to build a technology around that. So now there's a very different in terms of interest coming from the VCs. Right. And I guess next few years going to be a golden era for Edtech. Looking at, because again there has been a big shift in the psychology or the mindset of a student as well as the parent.
Right.
That's where, and these are the two main decision makers when it comes to whether you should go to a coaching, offline coaching or online coaching. Now, if your people are able to see a real value coming, real value adding at a much cheaper price, why would you go to a traditional coaching and sort of spend even more than that?
Any company you like? Any company you admire in India or overseas?
Yeah, overseas Apple, matlab.
No, in Edtech, in your domain.
Yeah, Edtech, I guess we admire Testbook a lot because there are very few players in the industry who comes with a teaching background, focusing more on the outcome and the learning. Because again, so if you talk about you mentioned about doubt notes, right? So again, just doubt solving is a very small part of the whole learning cycle, right? And if you sort of really want someone coming to you with a very blank mind and with a faith that you will drive them to a goal, you need to sort of build a full ecosystem around that. And that's how the schools, universities, colleges have been built, right?
Right.
It doesn't happen that you you took admission in 5 colleges or 10 universities, right? It doesn't happen. You sort of pick one universities who have been able to deliver and capable enough to provide the full learning around that.
Right.
And there's very few players. So everyone has some or other sort of different focus, I guess. We have a very different experience. And we are trying to, again, when we were preparing for IITJ and you yourself know about that, right? That session, the duration of 2 years is very, very different. It's like a psychological test, your strategic test. I don't know what type of test sort of go through that.
Yeah.
And I guess, so our full team is coming from a very top tier colleges. So we have more than 70-80 people coming from different IITs. Our full core team is from IITs. And everyone has sort of gone through a very rigorous test preparation process. And using those learning with the technology, and again coming from a technical background, so can again DNA mein ho jata hai. So if people running an offline coaching institute and if they start a tech product versus people coming from a technical background, they start a tech product, it's going to be very, very different.
Right.
So I guess we are doing really well, and still it's the earliest stage. Even we feel that we are just not even halfway to what we have imagined the tech solutions to be, right, and the way it used to solve the problem. So still long way to go.
No, fascinating. It was thoroughly interesting and quite enriching to hear the story. And comparative exams is something that we've all been part of and seen and understand. So definitely, you don't need any validation and the importance of it, and it'll just keep growing, right? I mean, competition is fierce now. So no, that was very informative. Sorry.
It's a different mindset, right? So
Yeah.
cracking a 10th star board
Yeah.
versus cracking a IIT or cracking a bank PO job.
Yeah.
It's a different set of preparation, strategy, and all those things.
Yeah.
No, absolutely no. I mean, I wish you all the best in terms of reaching more bigger and more ambitious milestones over the next few years. I know, as you said, it's probably a golden era for Edtech. So it's a good time to do well. So, and that you guys are already doing. So no, thanks a lot for your time, and thanks for throwing all the insight on the sector. It was super interesting, and I definitely brought back a bit of flashback in terms of just like no more than a decade ago when we took the same exams. Obviously, times have changed since then, but some things also don't change ever. And
Correct.
Thanks a lot, Ashutosh, and this was awesome. What do you say, Sharad?
Yeah, no, it was good. Great having you, and we'll obviously keep a close eye on how you guys evolve, and we'll be cheering from the sidelines. So thanks for your time and good luck, Ashutosh.
Thank you, guys, and really, really good conversation. And all the best to you guys as well.
No, thanks a lot. Time flies during a podcast, doesn't it?
Yeah.
No, with that, I think this is a good time to sign off. This is Nikhil Arora
This is Sharad Tupran
signing off.